Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from the United Kingdom, coming to Copenhagen, Denmark, will you please put your hands together and welcome CONRAD MOLDEN!
Thank you very much, Copenhagen. So nice to be here. Thank you ever so for coming out this evening. Have people been drinking? Some people are too drunk to respond, they're like, maybe. So nice to be here. Thank you for having me in your beautiful city. The show is called A UK Man in the EU, and I've been a UK man traveling around the EU and doing the show, and it's nice to do it up in the Nordics, you know. You guys up here, you have a very special thing going on. And I must say, I noticed a lot of similarities between the Nordic countries. There's a lot of things that make sense, and there's things that you guys have in common, but there's one thing that doesn't fit. Finland. What's going on there? It just doesn't fit at all. It's as if the Nordics were a girl band. Denmark would be Humble Spice. Sweden, Gangster Spice.
Norway, Oily Spice. Iceland, the bankrupt manager. And then Finland is the guy in the van with a knife who won't get out. It was fun doing the shows in the Nordics. I got to travel around with an airline called SAS. And not only do they only speak Scandinavian languages, they think that you only speak Scandinavian languages. I'm sitting on the plane, air stewardess came over. Flutter what? English, please. All right, I will have a flutter-lutter-leedle-loodle then. Got to travel over to Norway. That's a really interesting place. It's very similar to Denmark. It's basically Denmark with mountains and less alcoholics. And you guys have a lot in common, you Danes and you Norwegians. You have a lot of things that tie you guys together. There is a shared history, there's a shared culture, there's a lot of shared values, you know, like a dislike of Sweden. Really brings you guys together. I got talking to some Norwegians while I was up there, and they said that it was one Danish foreign minister who gave away all the North Sea oil to Norway. Legend has it that in the 60s, you had a guy called Per Hyggelicious who got very drunk and gave it all away over to them, and they love this story so much. If he hadn't drunk so much whiskey, Jylland, that would basically be the new Qatar. Jøring would be Abu Dhabi. Bronnerslu service, that would be like the Burj Khalifa. Norwegians, very quiet people. I know that people say that the Danes are very quiet. You guys are fucking Spanish compared to the Norwegians. They are silent. Norwegian people, it's like you want to press the volume button on them. They're so quiet. I was sitting on a bus going to a show in Norway, and there's a couple sitting opposite me. They're having a conversation, and it sounds like this. And they're not whispering to each other. They're talking in Norwegian. And my big British ear appeared like, what are you guys saying? I was expecting subtitles to start appearing underneath them. Such a quiet people, Oslo, 700,000. And I'm standing in the middle of it, took a deep breath and closed my eyes, and all that I could hear was American tourists. It was nice to be in Norway and ask them about their culture. You know, they don't have hygge up there, they have something called kusli. Am I pronouncing it wrong? Kusli. And I was very excited to experience that. And then I arrived in Norway expecting, you know, snow-covered houses and reindeers and shit. No, it was dark and raining. You need fucking kusli up there to survive that shit. Parts of Norway can be very depressing. They only have, their food is terrible. The food, really, really terrible. That's coming from a British person, all right? So it must be fucking bad. The Norwegians only have two types of cheese. They have gulost and brunost. I've offended every French person in the world. Gulost tastes like a used sanitary towel. And brunost is the shit you fill in the cracks between the bricks with. Went to a bar, wanted to have a beer, made a terrible mistake. I didn't go to a bank first and take out a loan. Holy fuck, is it expensive in Norway? Sitting in the bar, there was a guy standing and wiping down a table with a cloth. I thought he worked there. He twisted that cloth into a glass. Had a drink himself. Tried some different things over there. I, of course, tried Schnaps while I was up there, and that's very important here in Scandinavia. Schnaps is a big part of your culture and your history, and I've had fun making, silly jokes about it. Like I used to say that if you ever run out of Schnaps at your julefrokost, don't worry, the Circle K tank station is 24 hours. You just take the pistol, you can fill the bottle back up. I used to have a silly joke where I said that here in Denmark, they call it Aalborg Aquavit. For any internationals in the room, in your country, they call it Sillet Bang. Apparently, Aalborg Aquavit liked these jokes so much that they asked me to do advertising for them. They could not have picked a worse person to do this job. There's no one more inappropriate than me. That's like asking Melania Trump to promote True Love. It's been a fun experience with them. They've shown me a lot of different versions of their product. I thought it only came in benzene flavor. Apparently there's a few different ones. They have one made with amber called Schnaps. Not Schnaps. Tastes like Schnaps. Amber, this thing, it's the thing that old ladies wear as jewelry. It's like fossilized tree sap that comes out the tree. It goes into the ground thousands of years later. This is not a flavor that jumps in my mind, right? Like, what's going to be next? Yes, next coming is the Aalborg Aquavit with the flavor of Grauballeman's feet, yes. It's not just the Schnaps, they also have something called Schnaps. And again, not a real flavor that jumps out in my mind. You guys have a very famous dish here called the stjerneskull. Seafood dish, there is prawns, there is mayonnaise, there's a big piece of fish, and then on the top you have the dill. Who's looking at the garnish and thinking that should be the star of the show? Yeah. Dill Schnaps not as bad, and that's when I really understood why they have the Schnaps. So you think the Dill Schnaps is not as bad? You're standing looking at the two bottles, I'm not going to drink this shit. Okay, I'll drink this one instead, all right. But Schnaps in Scandinavia has a very long history, stretches all the way back to the 15th century, and when you consider how long it's been part of your culture, I understand all the wars that you guys have been having. If people have been drinking that, can you imagine a king takes a big swig, slams it down, all right, fuck it, I do want Sweden, yeah. The journey with Aalborg Aquavit was really fun. They decided to take me, go and pick some of the ingredients that makes the aquavit, so they took me to a place called Gløgg, which literally means onion big. It's a very strange name for a town. Is that the most exciting thing going on in Gløgg? And then you arrive and you're like, yes, that is the most exciting thing. The onions are big, then they built a Circle K gas station. That's the history of that city. It was weird being there and picking the ingredients because they obviously wanted me to do that because they thought it would make the aquavit taste better to me. That's like me thinking, okay, yeah, I really don't like blulpulser, but maybe if it's me putting the blul in the pulser, maybe enjoy. They introduced me to some really fun people. There was like this really old guy called Silla, who's a living legend. We're in the bushes together. This was part of the filming. Okay, this didn't... Everything was normal and sensible, don't worry. But we're in the bushes together, we're picking some of the hawthorn, and I asked him, what is the most interesting thing that you have ever mixed with the aquavit? He doesn't miss a beat. He looks me in the eyes, he says, cannabis. What a badass. And what a maniac. There's the only person that could look at a bottle of aquavit and think, this won't fuck me up enough. I can imagine if you drank a bottle of cannabis, Aalborg Aquavit, and down that on the table, you'd probably go, all right, fuck it, we want America, all right. Up in Gløgg, picked all the ingredients, made my own aquavit. 3 months later, I tried it, and I'll be honest, still tasted like a chemical leak. Then for another fun thing, another assignment that they sent me on was here in Copenhagen. They took me to a cocktail bar and we got to shake cocktails and have some fun together, which was kind of nice. But we used something called linear Aquavit, which is a little bit different. So normally to make Aquavit, you take Aquavit and you put it in a barrel and you wait for it to turn into benzene. But what the Norwegians like to do is take these benzene barrels and put them on ships and sail them from Norway across the equator and back for no fucking reason. It's the least environmentally friendly way to add value to anything. It's like saying, hi, sorry, why is my Stjerna school 180 kroners? Oh, we put it into a taxi to Valbu and back. Yeah. It was really nice tasting the Schnaps. It was really fun being in Norway. I got a good sense of the country. You know, Norway's not in the European Union, but that doesn't matter because they know you guys. Yeah, because Denmark and Norway are like this. You guys are like best friends. And Norway and the European Union, they just hang out with each other all the time. Norway's kind of like that cool kid at the school that could smoke with the teachers, you know, was allowed into the staff room. And British people like me, we get jealous of that. British people were saying, we don't want to be in the European Union, but we want to be like Norway, out of the EU with all of the benefits. Those fucking idiots. The reason they're allowed to do that is because they're so fucking rich. I'm just envious, to be honest. You Nordic countries, you have your own thing going on. You got your own cool club. Everybody is hanging out. Everything's cushly with each other. And I'm from the United Kingdom. Yeah. It's our own club. Yeah. Shit club. The United Kingdom is a club that nobody wants to be in except England. England is just keeping everybody else in a toxic marriage. Scotland wants a divorce. Northern Ireland keeps breaking up with us and getting back together. And Wales is locked in the basement. Basically, what holds the United Kingdom together is everybody hates England. That's it. England has so many enemies. The United Kingdom hates us, and our nearest neighbor hates us the most, France. The rivalry between England and France is really toxic. There was a time when they first built the Eurostar train, when it would go from Paris to London, and British people decided that it would arrive at a station called Waterloo. Named after a battle where the British finally defeated Napoleon and the French Empire. Yeah. Imagine the train going the other way, leaving London, arriving in Paris. What's the name of the station? Oh, it's called the 2016 European Union referendum. Yeah. The British and the French, we've always had a rivalry. And I really found this when I was on the European tour. When I was traveling in and out of Denmark, everything was really hoogly, everything was very cushly. I didn't even have to show my passport. People are just like, yeah, welcome in, come on. The only time I had to show my passport was when I was going from France back into the United Kingdom. I'm standing at passport control with my wife, and she's got an EU passport because she's from Hungary. That will last about 10 more minutes. And we're standing in the queue together, and a French official came up to me and he said, I'm very sorry, sir. I can see that you have a British passport. That means that you need to come out of this queue and you need to go into the non-EU queue. Yes. Yes. You need to come out and go this way, yes? You can follow the signs, yes? There is a picture of the European Union flag crossed out, yes. Yes. You have to walk all the way down there, all the way. Do you see all the miserable English people in the distance? Yes. You have to turn right. There is a sign of the England football team scoring an own goal. Yes, yes. I'm standing in this new enormous queue, There's one French official checking all the British, but my wife's already on the other side. She's drinking martini, she's having a great time. 45 minutes later, I get to the front and the guy's stamping the passports and he's smiling. He's so happy, every British person that comes up. And he puts his stamp down on my passport and I look down and it was a picture of the French football team winning the World Cup in 1998. I'm like, sorry, I think this is the wrong stamp. He went, I'm so sorry, that is the wrong stamp. Us winning in 2018, yes. There's only one group of people that like Brexit more than the people that voted for it, the French. After the European Union tour was over, I decided with my family to celebrate, and we ended up going on holiday. We went to a little British colony called Mallorca. And I feel so sorry for Spanish people because the British people have ruined that country. English people arrive in Spain and they just think that it's an extension of England. They arrive and like, yeah, it's kind of like Birmingham, but it's sunny, yeah. And Spanish people come over and say, no, this is our own country, we have our own flag. And British people go, oh, no, orange, yellow, that's to tell us that it's sunny today, yeah. British people have ruined Spain. We're the only people that could go to another country that already has gazpacho and paella and tapas and go, yeah, what this needs is mushy peas. The arrogance is out of control. In 2018, and I promise you this is true, you can look this up, there was an English woman who went on holiday to Valencia. And she was so upset that she complained to Thomas Cook, the tour company, because she said that her holiday was ruined because there were too many Spanish people. It was nice being over on Mallorca, got to meet some local people, or so I thought they were. I asked one guy where he was from, and he said that he was from Tenerife. You can't be from Tenerife. That's like being from Disneyland. Unless both your parents are British bartenders, that story's not true. With the family, went down to the beach, having a really nice time, but there's always that moment on the beach when you want to go in the water and you can get a bit nervous about your valuables. What do you do with them? But don't worry, us human beings, we have an ingenious solution. It's called put them under a towel. Yeah. And we all do this. We put our most valuable wallets, keys, phone, we put them down and then we put a towel on top of them, yeah. What do we think's happening? That thieves are walking along and going, oh, the new iPhone. Fuck, there's a towel in the way. I'll move on. Me and the family went to a resort hotel. If you don't know what that is, it's basically Valhalla for white alcoholics. Unlike any good resort hotel, it had an all-you-can-eat buffet. And I think the name for this in English is very aggressive. All you can eat. It sounds like a challenge. It's not all you should eat, or that you want to eat. All that you can eat. Can you eat more? I don't know. I've got diarrhea. That means you can eat more. It's so aggressive in English. I love what you Danes call it here in Denmark. The Danish name for it is called, and this is true, allibetum. That sounds classy as fuck. You sound like you're in some Latin opera. No, I'm not an alcoholic. No. But this wine bar is allibetum. Yes. Yes. 3 bottles, please. Yes. No, each. Yeah. All-you-can-eat buffet at the resort hotel. It taught me a lot of things about buffets. I think there's a lot of different energies that you have in a buffet. Like over in the salad bar everywhere of the all-you-can-eat, very chill. Not a lot going on. To be honest, there was no one there. There's like one Danish person putting some carrots on a plate. Go over to the pizza mosh pit area. If you reach for the last slice of pepperoni, somebody put a fucking fork in your hand. It was lovely being on the holiday, though. I love the summer. I love the sunshine, which is really dangerous because I am this ginger. You know, I'm looking around. I think you guys probably put on a hat. You put on some suntan lotion. You're out. You're having a good time. Not me. I'm so ginger. I'm wearing like a sombrero that my wife makes me wear. I'm wearing a sun protection factor 150 fucking poncho. I looked like Melania Trump's inauguration ghost. And you guys on holiday probably having a good time walking around. Not me. All I'm doing is looking for shade. I call myself Shadow Hunter. I'm like under an umbrella, hiding in a doorway, looking for the shadow of a fat British man to hide in. And it's a shame because I really love the sun and the sunshine. It's just really difficult for me, you know? Being this ginger and really enjoying the summer is a little bit like being a dolphin that enjoys visiting the Faroe Islands. I mean, it's beautiful, but you've got to be fucking careful. Really nice on the holiday. Of course, a lot of people go there to chill, relax, take it easy. But there was one group of people on the holiday who did not do that. Germans. German people, no ability to relax. Have you ever watched a German person relaxing? It's fucking exhausting. They are not there to chill out. All they are there to do is reserve sun lounges. German people on holiday have one objective: find well-located sun lounges and put towels on them, yeah. The hotel knew this. They had built a wall around the swimming pool and around the sun lounges to keep the Germans out. The gate in that wall would open at 9 o'clock in the morning. At 7:30, there was a queue of people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9... holding their towels and ready to reserve everything. I was super naive. I would walk down there about 5 minutes before it would open. The gate would burst. They would run in. They are pushing ginger kids into the swimming pool. And they are reserving everything. Their behavior is aggressive, but their towels were even more aggressive. My towel is a picture of a lobster that says, "I'm so ginger, I'm spanked." Not the Germans. You know what their towels look like? Bayern Munich. Dortmund, the German flag. Yeah, the old one. I did make some new friends while I was over there, though. I made friends with a really lovely guy called Bruno Schweinsteiger. It's the most badass name I've ever heard. I imagine like a big Bavarian lumberjack with an axe over his shoulder, walking through a forest. Yeah, no, he works in IT. But he taught me a lot about himself. You know, things like German people, they can be very abrupt and very direct in how you talk. Like very early on, after I'd gotten to know him a little bit, he looked at me and he said, "Conrad, what's up with your face?" And I said, well, you know, it's a sad story, but it's also a really funny story. So basically, last year, I was diagnosed with a skin cancer on my face, and I went to Skybu Hospital in Aarhus, where I was living, and the surgeon said to me, now, normally we would take 5 millimeters of skin, but it's very close to your eye, so we're only going to take 3 millimeters of skin. No problem, had the surgery, local anesthetic, needles, eyes, very uncomfortable. And then I went home to continue living my ginger life, you know? You guys wouldn't understand, you know? We have to live alone underground. And then I got a phone call and he said, we're really sorry, but we didn't get it all. So I go back to the hospital and the surgeon said to me, normally we would take 5 millimeters of skin. It's close to your eye. Want to keep you looking beautiful. We're only taking 3. I was like, all right, but you got to fucking get it. And he was like, aye, Captain. Yeah, I don't know why this was happening on a ship. And then I had a second surgery, needles, eyes, uncomfortable, really wanted it to be over, and I went back home. And then I got another phone call. We still didn't get it all. I went back to the hospital, and this time he said, now, normally we would take 5 millimeters of skin. Today we're taking 11 millimeters of skin. They're not even trying to make me look pretty. There's just a student helper with his knee on my face like that, stitching me up. I went back home, I got the biopsy result, everything was fine. The moral of the story is if you ever find something on your body that you don't know what it is, please go and get it checked out. So I was telling all of this to Bruno, and that's when he looked at me and he went, Conrad, when I was asking what's up with your face, I wasn't asking about any of that. I was just wondering why you're so ugly. He's a lovely guy, but he did make me realize that I have a bit of a prejudice against the German accent. And that's because I grew up watching a lot of British Second World War movies. So whenever I hear the German accent, it sounds to me like they're planning something, you know? They could be talking about what a lovely holiday they're having. Maybe they had a birthday while they were on holiday. But to me, it sounds like a plot. Schwagendagenstagen. Alles zum Geburtstagstagen. But because all of these films were made in Britain, anytime they say anything important, they switch into English. Schwagendagenstagen. We attack at 9 o'clock. Schwagendagenstagen. It was really nice getting to know him. Of course, he's German, so we had to drink a lot of beers together, which was really good fun. He told me that German beer laws date all the way back to 1516. That's how serious they are about beer. Yeah, Carlsberg in their country, that's considered a soda. Yeah. Newcastle Brown Ale, that's sold next to the toilet cleaners in Germany. I think we have a really good system here in Denmark for selling terrible beer. What we do is we call it craft beer. Yeah. Because your expectations fall through the floor. Like if you went up to the bar after the show and you asked for a Carlsberg and they handed you something and you sipped it and it tasted like an ashtray, you'd say, this is disgusting, I want my money back. But if they said, this is a craft beer, we're like, oh, kind of smoky, yeah. Kind of ashy, I'm interested, yeah. Bruno, lovely guy, but he made me realize that Germans have no sense of humor. Comedy is a very serious business. Like I was telling him that if you directly translate from German into English, it always makes everything sound really cute and really fun. Like for example, gloves in German are called Handschuhe, which literally means hand shoes. No. Can you imagine big German man in the morning? Oh, honey, I need to go to Arbeit, yeah. But first, I put on my Handschuhe. Yeah, Bruno didn't think that was funny. And then I found out that the contraceptive pill, and this is true, is called anti-baby pill. No reaction. And then I started making a bit of fun of his name. I said, you know, Schweinsteiger means pig climber. I went, was ist das? I was like, you know, pig climber, a guy climbing pigs. And that's when Bruno turned to his wife and went, Schwagendagenstagen. Schwagen. Stupid English, man. Schwagendagenstagen. Germans, wonderful people, but no emotions. Everything is logistical and practical. At one point, he told me he had visited Aarhus, the city that I was living in. And I asked him about that. I was like, how was your trip to Aarhus? And he said, yeah, it was 340 kilometers. We left at 8 in the morning, 5 minutes ahead of schedule. And we arrive at 2:35 in the afternoon. We planned to get there before 1 o'clock, but my wife, she has a French car. He also told me about the cultural phenomenon of Ordnung. That's the idea in Germany that everything has a time and a place. And I saw this most vividly at Mallorca Airport. There were two gates next to each other. One was going to Munich, and the other was going to Napoli. And you did not need to read the signs to know which was which. The flight going to Germany, everybody is there 3 hours early, standing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, holding their towels ready to reserve all the good seats on the aeroplane. The flight going to Italy, chaos, chaos. It's delayed by 5 hours. The pilot is in the bar. Somebody was singing, a man was dancing, a woman was having a baby. It was crazy. You know, it wasn't just me making fun of Bruno's name. He also made fun of my name. So my name is CONRAD MOLDEN, and I really don't like my name. I like the first part. I like the CONRAD part, but I don't like the Molden part. That doesn't sound good, does it? Somebody says you Mr. Molden is coming. Oh, God. Please don't touch my genitals. Oh. It's such a terrible name. It doesn't sound like a name. It sounds like the stage before Rotten. This apple is rotten. Actually, it's molten. Yeah. Cut off all the black bits. You can make a pie out of that. Yeah. I hate my name and it makes me really envious of people that have cool names. Like fashion designers always have the most amazing names. It's things like Cristobal Balenciaga, Yves Saint Laurent, Giovanni Armani. There should be space in that industry for people with names like me. Copenhagen Fashion Week, they're looking at the catwalk. Wow, what a wonderful connection. Yeah, it's by Dave Shittington. Yeah. What a beautiful coat. Yeah, by Barry Wankface. Yeah. CONRAD MOLDEN. Doesn't sound like a comedian. It sounds like a Norwegian waste disposal company. One that does really unethical things to the environment. Breaking news, and the Molden factory is leaking toxic chemicals into a local river. 3 species of endangered bird are dead, and the dolphins have turned ginger. I get to do a lot of comedy for wonderful people like yourselves, and that means sometimes I get recognized, and that can be a blessing and a curse. I was very recently recognized on a train. I was traveling with the Danish train here, and you can use your Reisekort to check in, but if you do that, you don't get a pladsbillet. You don't get a seat reservation. But no problem, because here in Denmark, you have a system where you just have to find a seat where it says, "Kan være reserveret." Which is Danish for, "You are fucked." Because you get so confident when you see the "Kan være reserveret." You think yourself, oh, I just saved myself 30 kroners. Cha-ching! I can and will reserve this seat with my numser. Yeah, yeah. And you're so excited, you get in there, wriggling down, you make yourself a little hoogly nest, you know, you've got your laptop and your book and your phones and your headphones and you plug everything in and you're so excited. And then 1 second before the train leaves, that's when the pladsbillet person arrives. And they get to do that smile. You know that pladsbillet smile? Oh, nej! Jeg tror, det er min plads, ja! And you have to do the no pladsbillet smile. Yeah. Huh. Oh, this is your seat. Oh, good. Yeah. No, I love standing. Yeah. With all my bags. From Copenhagen's Hovedbanegård to fucking Skane. But it was on that train that I got recognized recently. I was in the stiller zone, the silent zone of the train. And that's not because I need silence, but that's because I like to snap at people. Everywhere else in Danish society, you have to be so polite and kind. If you bump into somebody, you say "onsku." You have to open doors for others. Not in the stiller zone. Because in the stiller zone, if somebody isn't being fucking stiller, you are allowed to go from 0 to 100 immediately. I'm not even reading anything. I'm not looking out the window. I'm just waiting for a phone to start ringing. Oh. And then I can hear it behind me. Ding, 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 ding. And I start dribbling. And then he answers the call. That's the very best. And then I get to spin around in my chair. And I get to say the most aggressive thing which you can say in Danish, which is, of course, "Hold kæft, man." And now I'm face to face with a very big man who has a shaved head and tattoos all over his face. And I'm fucking terrified. And I spin around in my seat and I'm like, like a little ginger squirrel. Oh no, please don't eat me. And I can feel him standing up and looking down at me. And he's saying, "Dear die, dear die." So I just pretend I don't speak Danish. I'm like, English, please. And he's saying, "It's you. It's you." And then we awkwardly make eye contact. And as we do that, his look of anger turns to a look of recognition. And he starts to smile. And I'm thinking to myself, thank fuck. This comedy shit is finally paying off. He's saying, "It's you, it's you." And I'm smiling and saying, "Yeah, it's me." And he went, "Yeah, it's you. You're that kid from Love Actually." And if you haven't seen Love Actually, it's my best film. I love living in your wonderful country. It means that I get to tell people back home fun facts about Denmark. Like a very fun fact, did you know that Denmark is the second flattest country in the world? Yeah, after Atlantis. That joke's only funny for 10 more years. There's no exit that way. All right, good. I get to get questions. I get questions from my international friends. They say, Conrad, do you work as a comedian in Denmark? Do you work for yourself? Do you work for a company? I do actually work for a company. It's called the Danish Tax Authority. Oh my God, is it expensive in this country? And I understand why it has to be. Otherwise, you Danes would live forever. You eat dark bread. You love cycling. You do winter bathing. The government has to tax you to death. And my naive friends say things to me like, oh, Conrad, I'm visiting Denmark. What free things are there to do? Well, there's only one free thing to do in this country. Leave. My God, it's expensive. The best thing about living in Denmark is going to any other country in the world. Any other country in the world, because it's always cheaper. Internationals in the room, you know that feeling? You go back to your home country, like, I love the fucking prices over here. It's so good. Whenever you go abroad from Denmark, it's always cheap, except Norway. Fuck that shit. Oh my God. Being Danish, going on a holiday in Norway, that's like a dolphin in the Faroe Islands. You guys are crazy. So expensive. And then sometimes my international friends, they get culture shock the reverse way around, like they discover how expensive it is in Denmark. And the reason for that is they don't understand the Danish kroner. There was a time before the euro where every country had its own currency. You remember those days? And we never understood each other's currencies. Right, you go on holiday, you'd arrive and it would be a bit of a surprise. You'd go, wow, their currency is called the crackerdack. Yeah. Oh, what's this? Bajiggle jiggles, way! And you would just spend it like it's Monopoly money. And that's what happens. My international friends come to visit me. Danish kroner for them, that's just bajiggle jiggles, right? We go to a cafe, they're spending their money like crazy, and when we sit down, and that's when my friend is looking at his drink, and he starts doing the maths in his head. You know when you break your international friend's heart? He's looking at his drink, he's looking at me, and he's like, oh my God, Conrad, this latte just cost me €9. Like €9, central Copenhagen. That's a good price, actually, yeah. Was that a Black Friday deal, or what was that? Best thing about living here in Denmark is definitely the Danes, and they will tell you fun facts about their country. Like, did you know that the Dannebrog, or the Danish flag, might be the oldest flag still in use today? Because legend has it that in 1219, it fell from the sky during a battle in Estonia. Now, I don't want to ruin that legend for anybody in this room, but has anybody considered that that might be the Estonian flag? It's a bit like saying, hey, have you seen my new electric bicycle? Yeah, found it in my neighbor's garden. Yeah. It's nice being an international here because you also go back home and see your own culture with new eyes. I was recently back in the UK and I realized that British people are so polite. They're unbelievably polite. British people are apologizing all the time for everything. And here in Denmark, of course, Danes are very polite, but they will only apologize if they feel bad about what they did. For example, if you were crossing the road on a red light and a Dane hit you with their car, they probably say something like, well, I'm very sorry that your legs are broken. But you're crossing on a red light, so I had to run you down. Same situation over in the UK. They would start apologizing to you. Oh, I'm so sorry, I seem to be under the wheels of your car. Don't mean to be a nuisance, but if you have some time later on, maybe you could remove it from my legs, yes. It was fun being back in the UK. I realized my hometown of London is a very old city. We have an underground system from 1860, and it's fucking old. And when I was traveling around in the Nordics, every single capital city has its own metro system, and they're sleek and shiny. The one here in Copenhagen, very nice, very efficient, and on the platforms you have glass walls. When the train stops, the doors open and you get inside. It is not like that in London. In London, it's like the fucking Hunger Games down there. You go down onto a platform that's just as wide as your shoe. You're walking down, like the trains are going past you like that. They're slicing off the end of your nose. And you're getting pushed further and further down the platform as more and more fucking Spanish people are coming down. Until the point when you're just like, oh shit, and you just fall down, lying there on the tracks. Well, at least I don't have to pay rent in London anymore, yes. I'm so sorry, I seem to be under the wheels of your train, yes. I did realise, though, that there's a lot of things that hold Europe together. We have a lot of differences, but there are lots of things that we have in common. Like food culture, for example. I noticed that here in Europe, it can be very, very similar. When I was over in the United States, it's a whole other world. United States, they're very obsessed with customer care. They really want tips. It's all about the experience. And it's not like that here in Europe. Me and my wife were over there. We went to a place to go and eat. We sat down. It was just, generic fast food restaurant type thing. We're chatting to each other. We'd already ordered, having a nice time. And when the waitress arrived, it was like the fucking circus was in town. Suddenly, she appears. Hi! Thank you ever so much for coming to Big Bucky's Burgers. Yeah! You made the best choice today. You ordered the super duper double cheesy ranch dressing double extra burger with double patties, double fries, and a side of onion rings. And just for you guys, I made a half and half vanilla milkshake with extra Oreo crumbles on top. Enjoy your meal. Meanwhile, in Denmark, nummer 25. Language is such an interesting thing. Us Europeans, we can be very humble. I found that in America, things were much more intense. Like Americans love to say, have a nice day. As a European, that's a lot of pressure. I don't know if I've ever had a nice day, to be honest. What does a nice day look like? Language is such a fun thing. When I was back in the UK, I realized that British people never say what they mean. If they use really big words, it's a small problem. Small words, it's a big problem. If you talk to a British person, they say something like, oh, it's a bit of a bother. That means that they have a terminal illness. But if they say something like, oh my God, it's an absolute disaster, that means they accidentally bought decaffeinated tea. Sayings are such a fun thing. Bruno was telling me that if you have a difficult decision to make in German, you can say it's like being between the anvil and the hammer. In French, it's even more poetic. They say it's like being between the devil and the deep sea. The most aggressive version of this saying that I've heard has to be the Danish one. It's so aggressive. You guys say it's like choosing between pest and cholera. All right, Denmark, slabber, eh? Fucking hell. No, this is way too aggressive. This is never going to be appropriate. You're never going to be able to use this and it's going to make sense. Like you're lying on the sofa in front of the television late in the evening. Oh, I should really go to bed. I've got work tomorrow. But I do want to watch another season of Too Hot to Handle. It's like choosing between plague and cholera. It's way too aggressive, but at the other end of the spectrum has to be the English one. Because our version is the worst one that I've ever heard. It's so pathetic. In English, we say it's like choosing between a rock and a hard place. That's the final thing we came up with. The French, the Germans, the Danes, they're killing it, and we came up with a hard place. How hard is this place? I've stayed in hostels in Munich. The beds were pretty fucking hard. It's an awful saying. To me, it sounds like the person who invented it just gave up halfway through. Oh, it's like choosing between a kitten and something else that's fluffy. Yeah. Sayings, translations, they're really fun things. Like in England, we would call it slave labor, but here in Denmark, you call it a startup. That joke hurts for some people in this room. Here in Denmark, you call it a prison or a fængsel, and in England, we would call that a 4-star hotel. Yeah. But you guys have your own kind of propaganda. If you've been here long enough, you will have heard the saying, det findes ikke dårligt vejr, kun dårlig påklædning. It roughly translates to, shut up, you complaining tourist. But I do love living in your country. I'm now here in the capital city, and I really like it. You know, there's lots of touristy things to do here, but Copenhagen's an interesting city because when you arrive, the first thing they tell you is what not to go and see. The moment you arrive, everyone will tell you, do not go and see The Little Mermaid. Because you will be very... It's a little bit aggressive. I think I'll decide how I feel about a statue of a Little Mermaid, thank you very much. So I went out there to have a look. Pretty disappointed, I'll be honest. I think that should be the tourist attraction. Do you want to see the largest mass gathering of disappointed tourists in the world? Go to this place in Copenhagen. They're standing close to a statue of a Little Mermaid. I was looking at her there. She's on that rock. She's looking out to the sea, and she looks really sad. And I was thinking, you don't look like you're on a beach in Copenhagen. You look like you're on a toll bus to Aalborg. I was like, why is she so miserable? And then I went over to buy a soft is in the nearby kiosk. 89 kroner. I'd be fucking miserable. Of course, lots of touristy things here in Copenhagen to see. Another classic and the center of hygge has to be Tivoli. So much hygge happening in Tivoli. Everything is extremely hyggelig in Tivoli, except for one thing, the prices. Holy shit, is it expensive in there? Oh my God. You buy the entry, you buy a tour ban, you have a pulser, you come home, there's a for sale sign in the front of your house. You're fucking bankrupt after one day in Tivoli. I want to meet the people that own that place because I bet you that they are just laughing at us. I just imagine it's two naked guys in a jacuzzi filled with money. And they're just having a great time. Hey, son, open another bottle of champagne. Anna's, what are we celebrating? A family of 4 just went into the Rasmus Klump Panake restaurant. How much did you charge him? 84 euros. Oh, by the end of this year, we'll be able to celebrate with 2 nights in a Norwegian hotel. There's, of course, a lot of touristy things that people think about when they think of Denmark. Of course, they think about Tivoli, they think about Little Mermaid. But there is one Danish thing that you Danes don't like to talk about. And it is, of course, flying tiger. It's Danish, and no one wants to admit this. And the reason is that this shop is embarrassing. We've all been there, but we don't want to talk about it. Because if anybody ever asks you, oh, well, what do they sell in Flying Tiger? All you can say is, shit. Oh, is it like Søster Grain or Normal? Is it these small random items? No, it's useless shit. It's something you wear on your head while you're sitting on the toilet. So you can play basketball with yourself. And you ask Danes about it, and they look at you. What? Flying Tiger Copenhagen is Danish? Really? Are you sure? I thought it was Swedish. It's such a weird and awful shop. There's so much plastic and packaging, and every time I'm in there, all I can think to myself is, this is all going to survive 2 rounds of Pagalight. That's it. And then it's just going in the bin. And then after the bin, it's going into the sea. And I started reading about plastic pollution in the ocean, and there is so much plastic in the North Pacific that it has gathered together and created something called Garbage Island. And as I'm sure many of you know, it's very big. It's 1.5 million square kilometers. It's 3 times bigger than France. It's an ecological disaster. But I found a solution. We should go out there and build a one-way in entrance and a one-way out exit and put up a Flying Tiger Copenhagen sign. People are going to come in boats and buy all of it. Of course, there's lots of touristy things here in Denmark, and people often think about Copenhagen. They think that they're all centered here, but they're not. The second largest tourist attraction in this country is actually 270 kilometers west of here. And it is, of course, Lego House and Legoland. And even the small time that I've been in your country, it has grown and grown. These amusement parks have grown, and they're getting even more wonderful. There's so much to do. But the town that they are next to has not grown. The town of Billund has still just 7,000 people, and it's technically one of the smallest towns in Denmark. But because of Lego, it has the second largest international airport in this country. And Billund Airport is not small. As you guys know, every year 3 million passengers go through it. But it does mean that everybody who works at Billund Airport has to come from the town of Billund, which means that they are all 85 years old. Extremely hyggelige, and all called Birgitte. Billund Airport is basically a lufthavn run by your bestemor. It's so good, it's so sweet, and the levels of trust are out of control. Me and my wife were coming back from the United States into Billund, international flight. I was expecting passport, visa, immigration. There was none of that. We walked off of our plane, through the terminal, and through to the exit. There's an automatic door to go out into the streets, into Billund. And standing next to that automatic door was Birgitte. Hello! And all she was doing was asking everybody the same question. Do you have a visa? Yeah. Oh, welcome to Denmark. Yes. There you go. Oh, do not go and visit the Little Mermaid, yes. Normally, when you're going through passport, visa, immigration, you know, they give you forms, they ask you things. I was traveling a lot for the shows, and one of the questions that they always ask is, who should we contact in an emergency? The fucking police. They always ask you this. What other number do you think I should put down? My mum? What are you going to do? Hi, Conrad's mum. Yeah, he's being stabbed to death. Hang up and call the police. I'll do that. All right. Lady said on our flight to Mallorca, did you pack these bags yourself? And I said, I have 2 children. I don't pack anything myself anymore. True story, I had left my small bag that I took on the aeroplane in the hallway the day before that we had flown. And when we arrived in Mallorca, I opened it and it was filled with Duplo and sand. And I looked at my 5-year-old son and said, I think they have enough sand here in Mallorca, to be honest. It doesn't matter where you're flying. It can always be a very stressful experience. It changes how we think, our perception of things. If you're taking a train or a bus, we seem very chill. But if we're going into the sky, we start to lose our minds. Like time becomes a real issue. In the days before you take an aeroplane, you will start having conversations with your family and friends about what time to get to the airport. And people lose their shit. Say, okay, well, what time do we need to get to the airport? Well, I read online that we need to get there 2 hours before the flight leaves, right? So that means we're going to get there 3 hours before the flight leaves, all right? Okay, and what about driving? Well, it normally takes about 1 hour to drive to the airport, so we're going to take an extra hour, and we're going to have 2 hours to drive to, in case we hit a British person, we have to drive them to hospital, we have to bring them back, they need a surgery, so we need like a buffer hour. Okay, fine, but then what about from the house? Well, we need to go from the front door of the house to the car that's parked outside the house, right? Now, that normally takes about 20 seconds, so we're going to need another hour to get from the front door to the car. And then, of course, we've got to get from our bedroom to the front door, right? That takes about 15 seconds, okay? So we need another hour to get from the bed to the front door. So when should we leave? We should have left yesterday, actually, yeah. We should have left before we were born to make this flight. And it's not just time that makes us go insane. It's also thirst and water. The idea of thirst and water starts entering our lives when we're going around the airport. In the time before you leave for the airport, everybody is telling you to drink water. Make sure you drink some water. Everybody drink some water. Here, have some water. Everybody drink some water. You're in the car on the way to the airport drinking water. You're all drinking water. You've never drunk this much fucking water in your whole life. You're drinking water. You arrive at the airport and you know there's that bit where you're not allowed to take water anymore? You know that bit where they're trying to dehydrate the terrorists? And people are standing in this area, downing bottles of water, downing them, drinking 9 liters of water, stressing, freaking out. You're not going, it's not the Gobi Desert, it's Copenhagen Airport. You'll be fine. People are downing water, they get to the outside, must buy water for the plane. Everybody, quickly, get some water, everybody, grab some water. You're on the aeroplane drinking water. We never are this thirsty in our whole fucking lives. You could be lying on the sofa, thinking to yourself, oh my God, I really fancy a drink. But first, another season of Too Hot to Handle, yeah. It's like choosing between plague and cholera. But you go out of our minds. Everything becomes so unbelievably stressful. Me and my wife, when we were traveling to the United States, we saw a sign at one of the American airports. This is true. It was a sign that said, you are not allowed to take a gun on the aeroplane unless it's a domestic flight. I love you, America. Can you imagine at the security, the guy's going through, beep, 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 beep. Oh my God, he's got a gun. Quickly arrest him. Actually, I'm going to Dallas, Texas. I'm so sorry, sir. Of course, here you go. Of course, board your air. Oh, you forgot your machine gun. Here you go. I'm so sorry. You start freaking out about it. When me and my wife, we were going with our kids to Mallorca, you know, you go through the dehydration zone and you start going to the security area and you start to become really paranoid about everything. You know, they had all these signs that were talking about there was some kind of swine illness, like you weren't allowed to bring rotten meat onto the aeroplane. You start worrying that you might have rotten meat on you. You start thinking about all of these things. Because before that, you know, it's like 7-Eleven and Canal Snarl and everything's really nice. And then suddenly, through the security area, something becomes really intense. Suddenly, everything is very ordnung, you know? You're in a queue marching with people like this. You feel like a German waiting to reserve a sun lounger. You're in single file. Up ahead, there are lots of machines. You can hear beeping in the distance. You can hear a baby crying in the corner. And you start to sweat. You start to really worry about things. You see all of these signs around. You're like, oh my God, maybe I do have a gun up my ass. Maybe I am a terrorist. And I pushed a Kalashnikov up my own ass this morning. I don't remember. Oh my God. Oh my God, what if I'm a drug smuggler? What if I swallowed a condom full of heroin and I don't even know? Oh my God. They're going to find it. They're going to take me away from my family. This is awful. I'll never see the light of day ever again. And then you get to the front and they have the machines and the plastic trays and you have to put all your stuff in there. You know that area? You have to put your bag in there and you have to take off your shoes and your belt and your trousers and your face and your eyes and your hair and your spine and your lips and your penis and you have to put them all in the plastic tray. And then there's that beeping machine thing and you go through and of course it always beeps. So you beep, 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 and they start scanning you and just standing, oh my God, please don't find the imaginary heroin, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then they don't find it, they let you go and you're standing there, there's that row of plastic bucket things, and they're all coming down there, but not yours. Yours is taken to the secondary security area. And now Bagheera is fucking angry. And they take you over to that area and they open your bag in front of you. And it's always so embarrassing. As they unzip it, it flops open and it always looks like shit. You feel so pathetic. I'm just a terrible human being. I don't need any of this. I'm so sorry. Just burn everything. I'm so sorry. And then they're digging around in your bag. What the fuck have you got in here? What is this? 9 liters of water. I'm so sorry. Blah, 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 blah. And then she's digging around in there and then she finds, what's this? A fucking pulsehorn. An old shitty pulsehorn? Is this rotten meat? Oh my God, no, it's molden, it's fine, it's fine. All I know is if I ever had to smuggle drugs into Denmark, I would do it through Billund Airport. I'm thinking about quitting comedy, moving to South America and telling them, I found a back door into Europe. Don't steal my idea. Because nothing bad would happen to you. It's so hoogly there that nothing bad could happen to you. Can you imagine if you had something on you, your plane lands in Billund, even if they found out, you'd be fine. You're walking through the terminal and that's when Bagheera comes up to you. Excuse me, young man, come with me. Close the office door behind yourself. Now somebody has been a very naughty boy. And we found something up your numsa. And it's not allowed in Denmark. But you know, we were all young once. I also like to stay a little bit longer at the disco. So you can have a line now. But please put the rest in the span on the way out. Thank you very much. Bruno was asking me about being British, living here in Denmark. He was asking what the similarities were, what things that we have in common. And I definitely think about alcoholism. Because you guys have come up with the perfect system for day drinking. It's called Gløgg. Genius idea. Because if you went down to the park with your friend, and it was 11 o'clock in the former day, and they opened a bottle of wine, you would go, oh my God, Sina, you have a problem. But if the wine was warm, and she poured it into a vending cup filled with almonds and raisins, like, this is fucking Hyggelig. Yeah, nice. Yeah. Our countries have a lot in common, you know, the weather, shit. In England, the weather is really bad. In Wales, it's worse. Scotland hasn't seen the sun since Thatcher resigned. And in Northern Ireland, outside Belfast, they just have a massive sign that says, raining until further notice. I got to do some shows over in Scotland for a time, which was really good fun. Scotland it's a little bit like Denmark, but it has mountains. And you might get stabbed, you know? It's kind of like a dangerous Denmark, and it was really fun to be over there. I was in the city of Glasgow, and it actually has one of the lowest life expectancy rates in Europe. So in the Nordic countries, life expectancy is around 82 years old. There is an area of Glasgow where it is 53. And I asked my Glaswegian friend's dad about this, and he looked at me and he went, 53? Seems a bit high to me. It was so much fun to be over there and do a show. I realized that, I realized how English I am. So we were going to the venue. It was a pub in the middle of the town. And outside the pub were 3 guys having a fight. And they weren't just pushing each other. They were trying to kill each other. Like, one of them had his shirt ripped open. One of them's got a bloody nose. They're beating the crap out of each other. And I realized how English I was, because I didn't want to be late for the show, but I really didn't want to disturb their fight. So I just ended up trying to find a good moment to get through them. I was like, oh, sorry, chaps, so sorry. Sorry, just excuse me. Yes, don't want to be a nuisance. I'm so sorry. Yes, here's your teeth. Yes. And I went into the pub. The host went onto the stage and he said, we now have a comedian from Denmark. And he welcomed me up. And I walked onto the stage and said, sorry, there's been a misunderstanding. I live in Denmark, but I'm actually from England, and I did my show. And when I walked off, the host came back up and he said, he's the bravest comedian that I've ever seen. He went on stage in front of a group of Scottish people and told them he was from England. Thank fuck he was funny. On the way back, after the Scotland tour, me and my wife, we decided to celebrate and go to a Michelin star restaurant in London. Has anybody been to a Michelin restaurant? Give me a little clap. Okay. Those are the most yandalong claps I've ever heard. I was made to go by somebody else. And I didn't enjoy it. Michelin star restaurants, I'd say it like I've been to many. The one restaurant that I went to, what's interesting is that the food is good, but it's the stories they tell you about the food that make it sound really fancy, you know? That's part of it, like part of the experience. Like, if you came over to my house and I gave you a microwave lasagna, you'd probably be disappointed. But if I started telling you about the microwave lasagna, maybe you'd become interesting. Imagine a young, naked Italian boy in the foothills of Napoli, reaching up to a tomato vine and picking it down. And you're like, oh, this is fucking delicious. And it was the same with the food. Me and my wife were sitting there, they put the food down in front of us, and then he starts talking about a wine pairing that goes insane. He's like, yes, and to go with this delicious piece of meat, we have to give you a glass of a very, very, very special wine. It's from a very independent winery called Chateau de Stupid Anglais. Yes. Very unique. It comes from a very, very small village. In fact, they only make 1 bottle of wine every year. And the bottle of wine that they put it in a barrel, and the wood from the barrel is made of the cross of Jesus Christ. Yes. In fact, they take the Holy Grail and they dip it in there, and they take 1 glass of wine, and then they take it all the way down to the Vatican City, where it is blessed personally by the Pope. And then an old monk, he walks all the way from the Vatican City. He is 116 years old, and he walks all the way up the E45. He comes all the way over to, and he is coming into the restaurant right now. Here he is walking in. See, with his last breath, he lays the glass in front of you. And now he has died and fallen to the ground. Yes, we clean him up later. Yes. It is a very, very special wine pairing. Please enjoy. And what are you going to say? Tastes all right. Tastes a little bit old. It is not old, it is molden, yes. I was humbled by Bruno. You know, he's an older gentleman, but he taught me a lot of things about myself. I still am young. I'm only in my mid-30s, but I feel old, you know. I have 2 kids, and every kid ages you by 10 years. I might be 34. I'm 54 mentally. For real. If I have another kid by the end of this year, I'm gonna have to retire at 35. Because life is moving so much quicker now. You know, I feel like I'm getting older. In the mornings, my clock, it rings at 7:30 in the morning. I stretch, I put my feet out of the bed onto the floor. It's 9:45. I know that I'm getting older because my friends around me, one by one, they have decided to stop drinking. And that's a real wake-up call. You know, the other day I wanted to see a friend of mine, I hadn't seen her in ages. And I rang her and said, look, I got kids, you got kids, I'll get a babysitter, you get a babysitter. We'll meet at a bar, we'll just have a nice time together. She said to me, Conrad, we can do that, but I've got to tell you, I've stopped drinking alcohol. This was a wake-up call for me. I thought to myself, oh my God, I've lost another friend. I'm getting to that age now where parties with friends, it's not all about drinking booze anymore, because at some point somebody brings out the tea. You know that moment? You're like, hey, can I get another beer, maybe another wine? And they're like, oh, how about chamomile? No party ever got more exciting when the tea came out. No one's like, oh my God, man, you should not have gone home. Wow, shit went crazy after they brought out the Earl Grey. Oh my God. I know I'm getting older because it's easier to eat fast food. Not even 10 years ago, when we went into a fast food place, when we went into McDonald's, we would have to go up to the counter and we would have to order our food to a human being, and it would be embarrassing. You remember those days? You would have to really limit yourself. You're like, oh, we'll have 1 Big Mac for someone else. It's not like that anymore. You go into these places and they have the screens of anonymity. They have these secret touch screen things where you can just be a greedy monster. You know that feeling? And you're just creating these crazy baskets of madness. There's meal deals and burgers and milkshakes and fries and shit flying in there, and chicken nuggets and side chicken nuggets to go with the side burgers. And you don't even have to go and pick it up. You can order it to a table, yeah. And you find some dark corner of McDonald's to sit in like this. Oh. And then the shame and embarrassment as the person arrives with your food. Oh my God, this is for 1 person. Okay, whoa. Rasmus, I need you to push 3 tables together. I know I'm getting older because I need better and better reasons to get up out of a comfy chair. It's true. You know that feeling at the end of the day? Children are in bed, you've done the washing up, you've tidied up all the things. You look around the room of your home and you think to yourself, there is no more shit that I need to do. And you put your ass down on the sofa. And there needs to be a very good reason to get back up. Like my son, he could come out of his bedroom and say, Dad, there's a fire. How big is this fire? Small fire? It's going to burn itself out. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. But Bruno made me realize that I don't need to feel as old as I do inside. I can change my feelings. I was complaining to him a little bit about the America holiday, you know. I had an amazing time with my wife, but I was focusing in on the small things. This was not good at the hotel, or the aeroplane was a little bit late. And he looked at me and he said, Conrad, you should be grateful that you live in a time where you can use the internet to travel, because life used to be a lot harder. He told me that back in the day when he would take his family on driving holidays in Germany, he would have to get a paper map. Remember the days of a paper map? Like you're a fucking pirate. You would buy a paper map, put it down on your dining table, and take a pen and draw a line as to where you were going to go. And you would just hope this fucking map was recent. And they haven't just built an autobahn through the whole thing. And then you get in your car with your kids and your luggage, you're sitting in the driver's seat, and who is sat next to you? This needs to be the navigator, the map reader, an essential part of your new journey. Who is this person? the oldest member of the family. Have they ever read a map before? No. Do they know how to read a map? They're about to try. And you would start driving and asking them questions like, where do we go? I don't know. We're in the crack of the map. Because you were always and forever in the crack of the map. And we should have turned left. And you would get lost, really lost. Not a little bit GPS lost like now, really fucking lost. You're in the middle of nowhere, you're rolling down the window, you're using your best German with random people, babushkas are coming out of the forest. You're a little bit late, you're 5 hours late to arrive. By the time you get there, it's dark, it's raining, you're reading the map off of the lap of your sleeping map reader. But you would be grateful and happy because up ahead you would see the lights of the hotel and you would just be so thankful that the building existed. They could tell you anything. Yeah, the window is broken and we have quite a lot of rats. And you're like, this is perfect for me and my family. And you would be there on your holiday having a good time, and then you would drive all the way back through the crack in the map, getting incredibly lost, and come all the way back home, and your friends and family would say, how was your holiday? And you would say, it was amazing. It was fantastic. I can show you 5 blurry photographs in 3 months. And we were grateful. Not now. This generation, people like me are so ungrateful. That holiday that I booked to America with my wife, I booked it from my phone while I was sitting on the toilet. Playing basketball with myself. You don't have to talk to anybody anymore. You arrive at Copenhagen Airport. You don't even talk to a check-in desk. You print the bag tags for your bags. Apparently you work at Copenhagen Airport now. You put the tags on your own luggage, you ship them through, you scan something to go through into the security area. Your plane lands, you're ordering a taxi from an app on your phone. You could be anywhere in the world. You arrive at your hotel, it's self-check-in, you have a QR code, you go into your room, you change your clothes, you walk down to the beach, and that's when you go, oh my God, my holiday has been ruined. Too many Spanish people. Copenhagen, you have been a real pleasure. Thank you for coming out this evening. Thank you very, very much.